Alone at the bus stop, shocking truth about a girl and a child's devastating whisper, the chill gripped the night as Jane waited alone at the deserted bus stop. Shadows danced around her, the flickering streetlight casting eerie shapes that seemed to taunt her. She could feel her heart racing, every thump like a countdown to something terrible. It was past 10, and the streets were empty, save for a wind that howled secrets. The unease grew, crawling like icy fingers up her spine. Jane had always heard the stories, the whispers about this very bus stop, about things that lurked in the dark, waiting for fools who thought they were safe, but tonight, she felt it more than ever. The air was thick with tension. Across the street, an old man sat on the curb, eyes trained on her, unblinking and unwavering. His presence felt wrong, like a bad omen. She shivered, not just from the cold but from an unnerving sensation that he was staring right into her soul. The way he tilted his head, almost like he was surveying prey, made her stomach churn. Powerless, she glanced down at her phone. No messages, no calls, a lifeline that felt as useless as the empty bench and the distant sound of a clock ticking in the night. Then, it happened. A child's laughter broke through the eerie silence. Jane whipped her head around, but there was no one there. The hairs on her neck stood straight as she strained to catch another sound. Was it real? Moments passed like hours, and then she heard it, a whisper, soft but chilling, calling her name. Jane, it pierced through the stillness, sending a jolt of fear straight to her core. Her breath quickened. Who was it? Was someone hiding? She stepped closer to the edge of the dim light, her pulse pounding louder than any distant heartbeat. The darkness seemed to swallow the glow around her, and then she caught a flicker, a flash of white where the shadows were deepest. Was it a trick of her mind, or could there truly be a child there, watching her? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. An instinctual panic gripped her. The laughter rose once again, joyous yet eerily twisted, echoing in the silence of the night. Jane, the voice was clearer now. A small figure stepped into the light, a child who looked far too innocent but had an aura of something darker clinging to them. The moment stretched, pregnant with suspense. What was going to happen? The child's eyes gleamed, reflecting a light Jane couldn't quite comprehend. Dread pooled in her stomach as she took a cautious step back. How could a child be out here alone at this hour? And why were they whispering her name? Questions flooded her mind, demanding answers that danced just out of reach. She glanced back at the old man, his eyes still fixed on her, waiting, watching intently, as if he held the threads of this unsettling tale. There was no escaping this. The child stepped forward, hand outstretched, a subtle smile playing on their lips. What did they want? What was the truth lurking behind that innocent gaze? Why was she feeling so drawn to them, yet terrified at the same time? Something deep inside Jane screamed for her to run, but she was rooted to the spot, as if fate itself had woven her into the web of the night. The shadows deepened, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket, and she knew this was only the beginning. What lay ahead was darker than what she could imagine, and as the child's whisper broke through once more, Jane realized she might not be able to turn back. The child's hand reached closer, fingers fragile yet insistent. Come play with me, Jane. The words dripped with an innocence that felt achingly false. For a heartbeat, Jane's instincts clashed with a yearning to understand. Who was this child? Why was she here? No, I can't. She finally managed, backing away. Her breath came in quick, shallow gasps. The laughter erupted again, swirling around her like a twisted melody. Why not? "I just want to play." The child's smile widened, revealing teeth too sharp, too perfect for a little one. Startled, Jane turned to glance at the old man once more. He had shifted ever so slightly, now leaning forward with an avid interest, like a predator caught in the thrill of the hunt. His presence intensified the darkness, making her feel exposed, vulnerable. The shadows around them pulsed, hungry, as if aware of her fear. She turned back to the child, whose eyes glimmered like deep-set stones, reflecting the streetlight's glow. "Please," Jane said, her voice trembling. "Where are your parents?" The child giggled, a sound that crawled under her skin. "They're just over there." It pointed into the depths of the dark, where the exit of the bus stop disappeared into an impenetrable void. That it was a lie, Jane intuitively sensed. A trap. Her gut twisted in recognition that whatever played at innocence here was a malevolent force hiding behind an innocent face. Heart racing, she took another step backwards, but something behind her caught her heel, sending her sprawling onto the cold, cracked pavement. The impact jarred her, and as she scrambled to her feet, the child advanced almost effortlessly, an inhuman grace that made Jane feel sick with dread. "Don't you want to know?" The child's voice dropped to a whisper, laced with a thrill of mischief. "I can show you things." Secrets. Jane's mind reeled. Memories of the stories she had heard flooded back, warnings about curious children who could lure lonely souls into endless night. If she didn't escape now, she might be trapped forever in whatever nightmare this was. There was no time for hesitation. She whirled and sprinted toward the street, the old man's low chuckle echoing behind her, a haunting reminder of how close she was to danger. Her feet pounded frantically on the pavement, the dim glow of the streetlights a beacon of hope, but the air felt thick, as if the very night conspired against her. But as she reached the corner, something stopped her cold. Shadows writhed ahead, coiling like snakes, bent on her path. It was not just the darkness, there was something else. The air shifted, heavy and alive, and Jane's heart sank as she saw thin figures stretching from the darkness. More children, their faces obscured but their laughter echoing hauntingly in the chilly air, encircled her, cutting off her escape. "Play with us, Jane," they chorused sweetly, voices overlapping, melding into something sinister that sent ice coursing through her veins. Terror clutched her throat, and she stood immobilized before them. They were not mere reflections of childhood innocence, but phantoms born from fear, and they seemed to know every dread she held. She began to back away, a primal urge to flee radiating through her, every depth of her being screaming for her to break free, to scream, to run. But was it too late? As they slowly advanced, the flickering light struggled to hold its ground against the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume everything. Suddenly, she felt a surge inside her, an unyielding spark of rebellion. "Leave me alone!" she shouted, but her voice sounded tremulous amidst their mirth, a mere whisper swallowed by the growing chaos around her. Then, the child, the one who had initiated this haunting dance, stepped forward, their gaze fixed unblinkingly onto hers. "You can't escape, Jane. Not yet." With those final words, the darkness surged, igniting a tangle of shadows that beckoned her to the unknown. What could possibly await her there, in the heart of night? As the last light flickered out, Jane took a breath, and then everything went black. What had she stumbled into, and would she find a way back? When the darkness enveloped Jane, it was like a heavy blanket suffocating her senses. She could no longer hear the laughter, and yet, the haunting melody seemed to linger in her mind, drawing her deeper into the unknown. Panic coursed through her veins, and for a moment, she felt suspended in a void. Had she stepped into a different realm altogether? Eyes closed tight against the oppressive blackness, she fought the urge to scream. Just as she braced herself for the worst, a subtle shift in the atmosphere wrestled her attention. It was a rush of cool air, like a whisper wrapping around her, soothing yet foreboding. A faint glow emerged, casting a sickly light that illuminated a tattered playground, eerily familiar yet grotesque. "Welcome back, Jane." A chorus of childlike voices chimed out, and she flinched at the sound. The figures, now more defined, emerged from the shadows, their eyes glimmering with a purpose that sent chills racing down her spine. They were not mere children, they were something other, a cruel mockery of what youth should be. No, Jane took a hesitant step backward, her pulse racing. A playground? But this looked abandoned, as if time itself had forgotten it. The rusted swings creaked gently in the breeze, and a merry-go-round stood still, its vibrant colors faded into a dullness that mirrored her dread. "Don't be scared," the sharp-toothed child, the one who had beckoned her, grinned wider. "We're not here to hurt you much." The last word hung heavy in the air, dripping with malice that shattered any semblance of safety. "What do you want from me?" Jane managed to blurt out, voice quaking. Her breath came fast, burning her throat as she sought an exit, but a thick fog swirled around her ankles, anchoring her in place. "Play, of course." The lead child gestured to the playground, the eyes of the others glowing like small embers. "Play is how we remember how we interact. Wouldn't you like to be part of our game?" "No. I don't want to play." Her voice sharpened, desperation coloring her words. The shadows around her hissed, creatures reeling on the outskirts. They were living, breathing nightmares, and Jane felt their hunger in her bones. "Then why did you come here, Jane?" The off-putting innocence in their tone sent shivers racing up her spine. "You wanted to escape your world." She shook her head violently, memories flooding back. The gray of her life, the loneliness, the endless feeling of being trapped, it all crashed down like a wave. "Leave me alone!" she screamed, kicking out against the fog, but it only tightened its grip around her. The laughter erupted again, the laughter of children who never grew up, who had tasted the bitterness of despair and thrived on it. Jane was at the edge of something vast, something dark that twisted her insides. She had stumbled into a domain where innocence was but a facade, where the laughter held no joy, only a sinister glee that fueled the darkness. In that moment of realization, something ignited in her a furious determination. "I will fight you," she declared, her voice steadying. "Whatever you are, I want to let you take me." The lead child tilted their head, surprise flickering across its face. The shadows recoiled slightly, but the others remained, undeterred. "Fight?" it mused in a sing-song voice. That's a new game to play. The world around her began to shudder, reality creeping back into focus. The playground faded, blurring the lines between nightmare and reality. What had been twisted fun now turned menacing, and Jane realized she had entered a game far beyond her comprehension. Before she could react, the icy grip of the shadows seized her, pulling her into their depths, drawing her into an abyss she couldn't escape. As she plunged into the unknown, she felt one last surge of defiance, a whisper of hope buried deep within, but I will find a way. Where would she land? What was the ultimate price of playing this dangerous game? The darkness closed around her, a heavy shroud, waiting to reveal its secrets. Jane's senses spiraled as she tumbled into an even deeper layer of darkness. Panic surged again, clawing at her throat, forcing her to inhale the stale, suffocating air. She landed with a thud on cold, concrete. The impact stole her breath, but it didn't drown the lurking dread that the shadows had followed her, had always been with her. Shaking herself, she pushed up to her knees. Where was she? The surroundings felt damp, gritty, maybe a basement. An old fluorescent light flickered overhead, casting shifting shadows that danced grotesquely around her. Cold walls encased her, slick with moisture, and the bitter stench of mold invaded her nostrils. The sensation of being trapped seeped into her bones like ice water. "Welcome to our hideaway," a voice sang, dripping with mock cheerfulness. Jane's heart skipped. It came from a girl, not one of the sharp-toothed monsters from before, but one she knew too well. "Lucy?" Jane blinked, squinting against the flickering light. The girl stepped forward, her blonde hair glistened strangely, almost illuminated by its own light. Lucy wore the same expression she had when they played together years ago, at another time, another place filled with sunshine and laughter. But there was a darkness now, lurking just beneath the surface. "Why are you here?" Jane asked, panic bubbling in her chest. "This isn't real." "Oh, but it's as real as you want it to be," Lucy replied, tilting her head, the smile spreading wider, exposing a hint of teeth that didn't seem quite human. You were drawn here, Jane. Just like all of us all lost children. Lost? Jane's voice trembled. I'm not lost. But are you? Lucy stepped closer, her eyes piercing into Jane's. When was the last time you truly felt alive? The joy, the thrill. The question hung heavy in the air, suffocating as shadows twirled around them, whispering in a language Jane didn't understand. She shook her head violently, memories clawing at her mind, the pain of isolation, the empty stairs in the crowded halls of her school. Stop! Jane screamed, taking a step back as the memories bothered her like bees. She could feel them buzzing inside her, echoing Lucy's words. Come play with us. Lucy beckoned, extending her hand gracefully, like an invitation to a dance. Her once innocent stance now twisted with possessive allure. There's fun to be had in the shadows. It's not as terrible as you think. No. Jane felt her heart pound against her ribcage, the shadows were closing in, hungry for her spirit. I want out. I want to play your games. But as she spoke the words, the room began to fade, colors and shapes blurring into an ugly distortion. Jane stumbled, desperately searching for anything solid to hold on to. Where are you going? Lucy's voice sang, unchanging, but it twisted with a madness that made Jane's skin crawl. You can't leave. The game has only just begun. As the illusion fell apart, Jane caught sight of something glinting beneath the shadows, a small object, perhaps a key. She lunged for it, her instincts screaming. I will find a way. Just as her fingers brushed the cool metal, the darkness surged forward, wrapping around her like a living shroud. Jane felt something slip away, the warmth of hope trailing behind her as she was dragged back to the edge of despair, and then, silence. What would happen if she embraced the darkness? Would she join them? Become one of the lost children in this twisted game? Fractured laughter echoed in her ears, a haunting promise that teased her sanity. As the shadows faded, a new whisper lingered in the silence. You're not alone, Jane, we're waiting for you. But who was waiting? And would she be able to escape the grasp of those lost voices calling her name? Jane's heart raced as darkness engulfed her, a heavy shroud that pressed down like a wet blanket. For a moment, she floated in an eerie void, the sounds of her panic echoing in her mind. A rushing river of fear pulled her deeper into night, where time lost meaning, and the shadows whispered her name. Then, the darkness cracked open. Light pierced through the seams, sharp and blinding. She gasped, feeling the cool concrete beneath her fingertips again. But she was somewhere else now. The basement had vanished, replaced by the chill of an empty bus stop in the middle of nowhere. Dim streetlights flickered overhead like dying stars, illuminating a desolate patch of pavement stained with the shadows of lost spirits. Welcome back to reality, a soft, taunting voice broke through her scattered thoughts. Jane whipped around to find Lucy perched on a nearby bench, the same haunting smile stretched across her face. The girl appeared almost ethereal, as if she belonged to both this world and the one Jane had just fled from. Lucy, please. Jane felt the walls of her sanity tilt dangerously. Memories threatened to surface once again, the laughter of children turned to screams. What do you want from me? Just to play, Jane, Lucy said eagerly, twirling her hair with a finger. Everything is so much more fun when it's a game. Don't you want to fit in? Fit in? The word struck like a slap. Jane recoiled, eyes darting around the empty street as shadows pooled menacingly around her feet. You think this is fitting in? You think I want this? A chilling wind rushed between them, carrying with it whispers that wrapped themselves around Jane's ankles like chains, pulling her closer to the darkness. Look around, Jane. Everyone has their place, even if it's in the shadows. All you have to do is give in, Lucy continued, her eyes glinting with something sinister, beckoning Jane closer. You're already halfway there. No. Jane shouted, almost pleading with the voices that licked at the corners of her mind. She felt raw, exposed, and the desperation twisted every fiber of her being. I want to do it. I want to be one of you. You think you can resist? You're already one of us. Before Jane could even process the words, the asphalt beneath her churned and cracked, revealing a darkness so deep, it seemed to swallow the very light. A series of faces flickered in the shadows, children she recognized from her school, their smiles warped and twisted, all drowning in darkness. Help us, Jane, they cried, their voices an overlapping cacophony of despair. We're waiting for you. Tears brimmed in her eyes as she fought against the tide of memories that clawed at her. No. You're not real. Oh, we're as real as your fear. We live in the depths of your heart, Lucy whispered, stepping closer, her voice a silky thread weaving into Jane's very soul. Come join us, you don't have to be alone. The shadows thickened around Jane, bubbling up and swallowing the light of the street lamps. She could feel their cold breath on her neck, urging her to step forward into the abyss. The darkness pulsed like a heartbeat, alive and eager to consume her. What will you choose, Jane? The shadows or the light? Lucy's question hung between them like a pendulum, swinging to and fro, urging Jane to make a choice. Just then, with a sudden burst, the flickering streetlights flickered out completely. The world plunged into a suffocating black. Jane's breath quickened, her pulse pounding in her ears as she stood alone, tethered to a now vanished hope. Where were the footsteps? Where was the safety of her life before? A cold chill wrapped around her heart as she felt that something or someone was behind her. Heart racing, she turned, only to face utter darkness, and a murmur crept into her ear softly, you can't run forever. A single choice lay ahead. Would she succumb to the shadows, or fight through the fear? And just as the shadows seemed to close in on her, a laugh, light yet chilling, echoed as a haunting specter emerged behind her. Would she have the strength to stand her ground, or was she already lost? What would happen if she faced them? If she embraced the night? Would she discover the truth she dreaded, or uncover a power that could save her? Jane felt her heart hammer against her ribcage as the darkness cradled her, a weight that made it hard to breathe. The haunting laughter died down, and for a moment, she could hear nothing but her own ragged breaths. She clenched her fists, feeling the cool, rough pavement beneath her nails. Who are you? She demanded, summoning whatever courage was left inside her. The shadows swirled, an undulating mass that pressed in from all sides. What do you want from me? The laughter resumed, this time more sinister, echoing around her like a twisted melody. A girl so lost, the voice teased, its tone drenched in mockery. A figure began to materialize from the shadows behind her, shifting like smoke. Stop! She screamed, her voice sharp, slicing through the fog of dread. What do you want? As if in response, the figure stepped into the dim light. It had the features of a child, fragile and eerie. It was a boy, no older than 10, with wide, vacant eyes that glimmered with a reflection of all the fears Jane tried to suppress. I want to show you, he whispered, his breath cold against Jane's skin. Follow me. No. She shook her head violently. I want to go with you, she spat, trying to shake off the creeping sensation of despair that dripped into her like poison, but the boy only smiled, a chilling twist of his lips that further frayed her sanity. You have to understand, Jane. There's no escaping the truth. We're all waiting, and we want you with us. The shadows surged, encircling her like arms of darkness. The boy stepped closer, his form becoming sharper, more defined against the pitch of night. What if I told you that you're already one of us? That surrendering is the only way to be free. No. She cried again, but this time it felt weaker, like a candle flickering in a storm. I don't want to be part of this. But you are, he pressed, the air around them thickening with despair. Your fears tie you to us. You can't fight what's inside you. It's too late. You just need to embrace it. As he spoke, the faces flitted back into the shadows, twisted, pleading, and broken. They reached out, their ghastly whispers filling the air with promises of relief and belonging. Join us, Jane, they cried in unison, voices overlapping like 1,000 echoes. Don't you want to be free? All you need to do is take a step into the darkness. Jane's vision blurred with tears. The shadows darted in and out, and she felt their chilling caress wrap around her ankles, urging her to yield. Reality twisted, and she could almost feel their despair bleeding into her soul. Help us, a voice broke through, sobbing, its sorrow palpable. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a scream from late nights in school, a plea from the playground, every unkind word bouncing back at her. They weren't just shadows, they were memories. They were her past. Suddenly, the boy lunged forward, reaching for her. Embrace the truth. He shouted, but Jane felt a flicker of need for survival, a flash of strength igniting within. She wouldn't let them pull her under. I choose the light. She screamed, her voice breaking but determined. I choose to fight. The shadows recoiled like a sudden gust of wind, a sharp gasp slipping from the boy's lips. In that moment, she could feel the shift, a flicker of light appearing at the edge of her vision. But would it be enough? Then you'll be alone. He hissed, the anger rolling off him palpable. As the light began to expand, pushing back the shadows, Jane's heart raced with a wild mix of fear and hope. What had she stirred within the darkness? The boy's laughter morphed into a cry of rage, and the shadows shivered, retreating but not vanishing completely. The murky depths of fear were still clinging, still watching her. Without turning back, she sprinted toward the light, the laughter of the boy fading. But as the darkness thinned, she could still feel it pulling at her resolve, whispering temptations that tangled around her mind. What had she awakened inside those shadows? And would the choice she had made truly set her free, or would she find herself lost deeper than before? Somewhere behind her, the boy's voice echoed again, chilling her to the bone. This isn't over, Jane. You'll come back, we always do. And as the light blurred her vision, she could only wonder, whose truth was waiting for her on the other side? Jane stumbled forward, the warmth of the light wrapping around her like a fragile cocoon. It felt as if she were breaking free from a frigid grip that had held her captive for too long. Yet, even as she emerged into clarity, deep shadows loomed behind her, breathing despair into the air she sought to fill with hope. She found herself at a bus stop, the flickering overhead light casting twisted shadows that danced as if mocking the fleeting warmth inside her. The bench was cracked, an abandoned piece of furniture that carried ghosts of lost time. Jane squinted against the brightness, desperately trying to shake off the weight of what just happened. Am I safe? She murmured under her breath, her pulse racing like a runaway train. Before she could finish the thought, a chill brushed against her skin. It wasn't just the cool evening air, it was the lingering sensation of unseen eyes, watching, waiting. Suddenly, a voice broke through her fog of confusion. You think running will save you? A figure emerged from the shadows, a tall girl with wild hair cascading around her shoulders, her eyes gleaming with a strange intensity. Stay back. Jane's heart drummed painfully. I don't want any trouble. The girl smirked, her smile as sharp as the darkness surrounding them. Trouble? Oh, it's already here, and it's got your name written all over it. She stepped closer, her gaze piercing, and Jane instinctively took a step back. Who are you? Jane demanded, her voice quivering but laced with defiance. You know, the girl replied casually as if sharing a mundane secret. You really don't want to know. But you are part of something bigger than you can comprehend and you can't run from it. Jane's mind raced. The echo of laughter still hung in her ears, and the weight of the boy's haunting words wrapped around her heart. What do you know about me? The girl tilted her head, studying her with a mix of curiosity and amusement. More than you think. You're special, Jane. You found the light, she said, her tone dripping with venom. But following it has its price. A bus rumbled into view, headlights cutting through the haze, but Jane didn't move. The light, it's supposed to protect me, she whispered, a sudden spark of doubt lighting up her mind. Oh, sweetheart, that light is just a dim flicker against the darkness that's coming for you. You can't hide behind that flimsy glow forever. Her laughter was a throaty cackle that echoed in the silence. You will be tested, and when you fail that's when they come back for you. Stop it. Jane shouted, frustration bubbling over. You don't know what I've done. I chose to fight. But the girl only laughed louder, stepping closer until Jane could see the glint in her eyes, something cold and empty. Fight all you want. You're already losing. The shadows know your secrets. The whispers will return, stronger than before. You will doubt everything. Leave me alone. Jane's voice broke as her anger flared, but a tremor of uncertainty rooted inside her. Could she truly escape the clutches of despair? The air grew thick, heavy with an impending sense of doom, as the bus doors slid open. Jane hesitated, a whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Should she board? Would fleeing lead to freedom, or a deeper entanglement in the shadows? Remember, Jane, the girl's voice echoed over the rumbling of the engine, you can run, but you can't hide from what lives inside you. You'll come back just like all the others. With her heart racing and breath shallow, Jane took a step toward the bus, the darkness creeping back toward the edges of her senses. Was she abandoning the light? Would she end up fighting yet another shadow? As the doors closed behind her, she heard the girl's final taunt lingering in the air, the weight of an ominous promise hanging above her. Let us find out how bright your light really is. And with that, the bus pulled away, leaving Jane to wonder what awaited her in the shadows in her heart. Would she break through them, or would they swallow her whole under a blanket of overwhelming despair? The bus shuddered to life, its tires grinding against the asphalt. Jane sat at the back, her mind racing. The distant glow of streetlights blurred into streaks as they sped away from the stop. She turned her gaze out the window, desperate to escape the dark figure that haunted her thoughts. The interior of the bus was dim, the murmurs of other passengers weaving an unsettling lullaby. She could feel their eyes drifting toward her, curiosity mixing with concern, and underneath, an unformed trepidation. Jane's stomach twisted. What if they sensed the shadows creeping along her thoughts? What if they knew? A woman across the aisle whispered to her companion, casting furtive glances. Do you think she's alright? I don't know, she looks like she's seen a ghost. Jane swallowed hard, her throat dry. The mention of ghosts twisted her memories tight. She turned back to face the empty space in front of her, clenching her fists. I'm fine, she spat, but the words tasted like ash. The bus jolted. Jane's heart raced. It felt wrong, too wrong. An unsettling silence enveloped the air as if the world had held its breath. She fidgeted, glancing around her. No one spoke, and the rhythm of the bus transformed into a haunting echo, reverberating in her chest. Then, she felt it. That prickling sensation on the back of her neck, like fingers grazing her skin. The shadows from the bus windows loomed larger, twisting into dark shapes that crawled into her thoughts like a swarm of bees. Each passing streetlight illuminated glimpses, fragments of memories she couldn't afford to face. Her breathing quickened. Breathe, just breathe, Jane whispered to herself, but the rhythmic mantra failed. She stared into the side mirror, and for a fleeting moment, her reflection morphed into that haunting girl from the bus stop. Wild eyes, sharp smile, whispering truths that sliced through her defenses. Stop it. She gasped, pressing her palms flat against the cool glass. She needed to regain control, to pull herself back from the edge. Yet the shadows curled tighter around her heart, squeezing with icy hands. As the bus screeched to a halt, Jane's heart thudded with sudden urgency. Had it just been a few blocks? The shadows whispered louder, beckoning. Maybe it was time to escape before they swallowed her whole. She shot up, bolting to the front. The driver opened the door. Jane didn't hesitate, she needed space, fresh air. But as she stepped out, a cold fog enveloped her, heavy and thick. The street was deserted. She glanced back, the bus was gone, swallowed by the night. Panic seeped through her veins like poison. Was it really gone, or had she plunged deeper into the shadows? Just then, a voice broke through the dense fog. You came back. It was the girl from the bus stop, standing in the mist, her wild hair framing her face like dark clouds. I told you you would. No. Stay away from me. Jane screamed, backing away, frantically searching for a way out. The girl chuckled, her laughter ringing eerily in the stillness. You can't escape what you've awakened. The whispers are hungry, Jane. And they want to feast on the secrets you tried to bury. Jane's heart thundered. She turned to run into the thick fog, but it was everywhere, a living thing wrapping around her, pulling her down. Come, Jane. Let us see how bright you really are. The girl's voice echoed, and Jane's courage wavered, her breath hitching in her throat. With the shadows breathing down her neck, she pushed forward. But what lay ahead? Could the darkness consume her, or could she face whatever horrors awaited? A chilling thought gripped her. What if the light had always been a lie? As she sprinted forward into the gloom, the girl's laughter rippled through the air, a taunting reminder that Jane was far from alone and even farther from the truth. What awaited her in the depths of that fog? The fog thickened around Jane, wrapping itself around her like a suffocating shroud. She stumbled ahead, her breath coming in ragged gasps, adrenaline surging. The girl's laughter echoed farther back, promising another encounter she didn't want to face. She had to escape it, she had to escape her. Focus, Jane. Just find something, anything, she muttered, frantically searching the darkness. But the street was an intangible maze. Shadows danced at the periphery of her vision, flickering and vanishing like fleeting thoughts. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground itself was determined to pull her down. She couldn't let it. She had to keep moving. Is someone there? A voice shattered the stillness, filled with hesitant hope. Jane spun around. A man stood on the edge of the fog. His figure was blurred, indistinct, but the outline was human. He peered through the mist, concern etched into his features. Are you okay? Do you need help? She felt the weight of his gaze, a spark of warmth amid the chill. His presence drew her closer, but the shadows whispered against her ears, danger lurks in the light. I don't know. There's something in the fog. She shouted, panic slipping into her words. Something dark. I need to get away. Stay right there. He insisted, stepping forward, then recoiling as if he de-stepped onto hot coals. It's okay. Just breathe. But the darkness was hungry, seeping into her thoughts and curling around her limbs, pulling her deeper into despair. She held her breath, tempted to believe him, but that girl's laughter echoed on the edges of her mind. And then, in a moment of utter clarity, Jane realized that the girl wasn't just a ghost of her past but a reflection of the torment she had buried long ago. Her own secrets twisted in the fog, clawing their way to the surface. Where's the bus? Jane demanded, desperation edging her voice. You saw it, right? It just left me here. The man's expression shifted from concern to confusion. What bus? What do you mean, what bus? The one that dropped me off. He shook his head slowly. There hasn't been a bus out here for hours. No one comes down this street. A cold knot formed in her stomach. Had she really left the bus, or had it taken her far away from reality? The fog shimmered, taunting her, blurring the line between what was real and what was created by her fraying sanity. What are you hiding? The question startled her, cutting through the fog like a blade. For a second, Jane hesitated. She could turn to him, share the burden that weighed heavily on her heart, but what if he didn't believe her? What if she invited more darkness into her world? Please! She cried, feeling the despair roll over her like a wave. You have to help me. I can't. The man started, but Jane noticed something behind him, a shadow creeping. No! Look out! She shouted, lunging forward. The fog rippled, and in an instant, the girl emerged, her eyes glowing like coals. The man turned, and in that heartbeat, Jane felt her own heart freeze with fear. "What is that?" he gasped, eyes wide. A triangle of terror formed around them, the shadows coiling, ready to strike. "Run!" she screamed, desperate, but the girl laughed, her grin a twisted reflection of Jane's own. "You can't escape your past. I want to go back." Jane screamed, a defiant shout that resonated even in the presence of those malevolent whispers. As shadows flickered and enveloped them, a sudden clarity pierced the fog. If she was to face this darkness, it would demand everything she hid. But did she have the strength? With the weight of the truth on her shoulders, she took a step forward. Would she fight for her freedom or let the darkness swallow her whole? The confrontation loomed, and Jane knew the answer. But at what cost? Jane's heart pounded in her chest as the shadows surrounded her, their icy tendrils reaching out into the fog. She felt the dark girl's piercing gaze on her, a taunt that reverberated through her bones. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but deep within, there was a flicker of something else, a burning desire to confront what she had buried. "Don't you understand?" the dark girl said, her voice smooth and dripping with malice. "You are chained to your past. You can't outrun the truth." "No!" Jane shouted back, every inch of her shaking with fear but also resolve. "You don't own me. I will not let you take me back." The air trembled around her, shadows looming larger, but Jane clenched her fists, summoning every ounce of courage she had. She took a step forward. "I won't hide anymore." "Then face the truth." The girl's voice echoed, and in that moment, time seemed to freeze, revealing the darkness that had haunted Jane for so long. Flashes of her childhood illuminated her mind, whispers of doubt, moments of despair, the laughter of supposed friends that turned hollow. Beneath it all, she saw herself lost and afraid, battling demons within that had clung to her for years. "No more!" Jane cried out, and as she did, something deep inside her ignited. A light flickered in her chest, mingling with the shadows, refusing to back down. This wasn't just a fight against the girl or the shadows. It was a fight for her very soul. Suddenly, the fog thickened, swirling around them, and with a powerful surge, Jane let her truth spill out. "I am more than the fears that haunt me. I am not alone. I have friends, I have support. I can fight you." The darkness faltered for an instant, recoiling as if Jane's words were a flame igniting a darkened room. The shadows hissed, tension crackling in the air. The dark girl stepped back, her expression shifting from mocking to surprised. "You think you matter? You think they care?" That lingering echo of laughter faded into a whisper. "Yes," Jane shouted, stepping further into the light, however dim. "They care. I matter, and I want to let you take that from me." In those words, a silence fell, heavy yet liberating. Jane could feel the weight of years of pent-up pain and regret start to lift, unfurling around her. The shadows recoiled further, flickering like flames caught in a sudden gust of wind. Within her heart, the warmth spread, flooding through the darkness that once consumed her. "No," the girl hissed, her face twisting in anger and disbelief. "You're not supposed to fight back." But Jane was moving forward now, leaving traces of light behind her. The distant glow of streetlights began to illuminate the fog, pushing back shadows that had loomed far too close for too long. "I know the truth of who I am," Jane declared fiercely. "And I will shine brighter than you can dim." Suddenly, it felt as if the ground was shifting beneath her. The presence of the shadows shifted, retreating into oblivion, like autumn leaves scattering in a gust of wind. She could hear the whispers of former friends and lost connections urging her on, their voices merging into a beautiful chorus of resilience. With one final surge, Jane raised her hands, and she felt the shadows slip away, unraveling like frayed yarn. The dark girl's expression twisted into a furious snarl, but as quickly as she appeared, she was enveloped in the very darkness that had once ensnared Jane, disappearing into the mist. "No!" the girl's voice echoed, fading into the night as the fog lightened. And just like that, it was over. Jane stood amidst a clearing, the night air feeling crisp and fresh against her skin. She took a deep breath, the heaviness lifting entirely off her chest. The lingering shadows were gone, become echoes of the past. She was free to choose her path. As dawn broke, golden light spilled through the cracks of the lingering fog, revealing the world that still awaited her. She had battled not only the shadows but also the doubt inside her, and as it dissipated into the morning, Jane smiled knowing she was no longer alone. Looking around, she saw the horizon, fresh and untouched, ready to embrace her with all its possibilities. It was the end of a tumultuous journey, but it was also just the beginning, a chance for hope, friendship, and renewed strength. Jane took a step forward, ready to embrace whatever the day would bring. So here's the deal, friends. If you loved this intense journey with Jane, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second, hit that red button below so you don't miss out on our exclusive stories. Make sure to smash that like button now because it supercharges the algorithm and helps share these incredible tales with more fans just like you, and I want to hear from you. Flood that comment section with your reactions and theories about Jane's adventure. What stood out to you? What do you think lies ahead for her? Your voice matters in this community. Lastly, share this amazing story with at least 5 friends who need to dive into this conclusion. Don't let them miss out on this emotional roller coaster. It's time to show your support. Let us continue this incredible journey together.